Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Good to see everyone. The first order of business tonight is the swearing-in ceremony, and I'll turn it over to Judge Harrell.
Thank you, Dr. Breesen. It's an honor for me to be here to swear in board members tonight. I'm going to start with Ms. Beth Burns. If you place your left hand on the Bible, raise your right hand, please. And repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Beth Burns,
Solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support and maintain
that I will support and maintain
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution and laws
and the Constitution and laws
of the State of North Carolina,
of the State of North Carolina,
not inconsistent therewith,
not inconsistent therewith,
and that I will faithfully
and that I will faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of my office
of my office
as a member
as a member
of the Pender County Board of Education.
of the Pender County Board of Education.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Your Honor. I appreciate that.
Thank you. And next, we'll have Mr. Ken Smith. Mr. Smith, if you'll hold the Bible in your left hand and raise your right. I, Ken Smith,
I, Ken Smith,
solemnly affirm
solemnly affirm
that I will support and maintain
that I will support and maintain
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution and laws
and constitutional laws
of the State of North
of
Carolina,
the State of North Carolina,
not inconsistent
not
therewith,
inconsistent therein,
and that I will faithfully
and I will faithfully
discharge
discharge
the duties of my office
the duties of my office
as a member
as a member
of the Pender County Board of
as
Education.
a member of the Pender County Board of Education. So help me God.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And finally, we have our newest board member, Mr. Brent Springer. Place your left hand on the Bible, raise your right. I state your name.
I, Brent Springer,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and maintain
that I will support and maintain
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution and laws
and the Constitution and laws
of the State of North Carolina,
of the State of North Carolina,
not inconsistent therewith,
not inconsistent therewith,
and that I will faithfully
and that I will faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of my office
of my office
as a member
as a member
of the Pender County Board of Education.
of the Pender County Board of Education. Thanks, sir.
And if I may, as the spouse of a Pender County school employee and the parent of 2 children who were educated in this county, one of whom is graduating from ECU Friday, thank you all for your work. I appreciate all you do. Just go a little around.
Well, you're the tallest.
Do all of us or just?
Nope,
You do.
Go tallest to shortest.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. You get one with the judge.
I wanna get a picture of this.
Great. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hold on now.
Okay, then. Did you get it, Aiden?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry about that.
Was mom. So welcome to the new board member and welcome to the returning board members. I'd like to call the Pender County Board of Education meeting to order. We have determined there is a quorum. If everyone would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Hall, please lead us.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're going to add a quick item to the agenda. Mr. Smith, if you'll lead us in prayer.
Let's pray. Gracious God, thank you for this night, that we can continue to serve Pender County. Give us the guidance to do the right thing, even when times are hard. Amen.
Board members, you have a copy of the agenda. There's two modifications to the agenda. Under information 9.1, they didn't make it synergistic. So we'll be removing 9.1. And there's a need to remove 11.1 Community Media Advisory Committee nominations until a later date. Those two modifications, amendments to the agenda is our approval.
I make a motion that we omit the agenda.
Is there a second?
Second motion.
Mr. Smith, second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Unanimous. So where are we at now? So we are now at elections of officers. So we will turn the meeting over to our board attorney, and he will lead us through that process. Mr. Pearson?
I believe it's Dr. Bracy.
Oh, Dr. Bracy.
Good evening, board members. Dr. Michael Bracy, interim superintendent for Pender County Schools. Momentarily, the board will begin its organizational meeting to determine its next board chair and vice chair. I would like to note that a quorum has been established and that 5 board members are present. First and foremost, I would like to congratulate and welcome our newly elected board members, Mr. Ken Smith, Mr. Brent Springer, and Ms. Beth Burns. On behalf of Pender County Schools, we look forward to working with you and the entire board for the benefit of our students, staff, and community. I will note that a few minutes ago, each newly elected member took the oath of office, and each has fulfilled all their obligations to be ready to serve on the board. While the board chair presides over the board meetings, we do not have one yet. According to Board Policy 2200, if necessary at any meeting to elect officers, I, as the superintendent, will serve as the chair of the board for the purpose of electing a chair. Once the board chair is elected, that individual will preside over the election of vice chair and then proceed to preside over the meeting. With that said, I now open the floor for nominations for the office of chair.
Dr. Bracy, I'd like to nominate Beth Burns for chair. Beth has been instrumental this year, and she's been here. She's worked hard for the board. She's attended several meetings with different stakeholders throughout the county, so I think she's well qualified and ready to be chair.
May I have a second? Are there any other nominations for the position of board chair?
Yes, I'd like to nominate Ken Smith.
May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor of the first nominee, Ms. Beth Burns, please raise your hand. Those opposed? Second nominee, Mr. Ken Smith. May I have a show of hands? If there are no further nominations, I will entertain a motion to close those nominations. And congratulations to Mr. Ken Smith as Chair of Pender County Board of Education. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You want to move now or do a recess at the end?
We'll just recess, I'm fine. At this time, we'll have nominations for the position of vice chair. I'd like to nominate Don Hall for that position.
I'll second that motion.
Are there any other nominations for vice chair? Not hearing any, all in favor, if you'll raise your hand. Unanimous. Congratulations, Mr. Hall, on being vice chair.
It's your show now.
Yeah.
We'd like to call a 5-minute recess.
We'll call a 5-minute recess, so that way if anyone that needed to step out for a second can, and then we can rearrange up front. Yeah, thank you. We'll return back to our meeting at this time. And at this time in our next order of business is recognitions from our superintendent.
Bob.
Bob, is there any recognitions?
There are none. Oh, recognitions, yes, I'm sorry. Doing two things at once.
Yeah.
It's always good to recognize those recognitions. Thank you. So we can bring up Alyssa Lee, if you want to come up first.
Tonight, let me get my glasses on in a second. Alright, so tonight I'm presenting, two of our young ladies in our district award. They're part of, an organization, in the community, which is Wilma. Wilma focus on, women leadership in our community. And with that, this year, they started their first, young leadership. And with that, the students are paired with other women leaders in the district. These women may be business owners, they may be board of directors, they may head government agencies, they may head nonprofits. And so they are two of the first class of young ladies, and they're right here from Pender County. They're among 16 other young ladies across the region. They just attended a ceremony December the 3rd at the Coastline Convention Center. I was told that our ladies do dance the best, by the way, in Pender County, for the record. So I want to bring up Caroline Metcalf, and she's High High School. Sorry about that. Blair These ladies both have 4.2 GPAs. Caroline is actually number 1 in her class right now at IHS High School. Both are National Honor Society students. They do community service both in school and in their communities. Part-time jobs, so they hold down multiple things both in and outside of schools, and they're athletes as well. Caroline does volleyball and also does soccer. So I want you guys to give them a hand.
Welcome, Mr. Mayor. Awesome. Thank you, ladies.
Congratulations.
Mr. Bates.
Yeah, I'm getting an award too. All right. So tonight, I want to recognize 2 more young ladies in our school district. I'm gonna get them to come up here with me first, and then we're gonna tell the story, because I don't want to miss the story. So if Mrs. Barbara Blees could come up, and Miss Grace Dietz. Did I get it right, Grace?
Yes, that's perfect.
Alright. So, this award is for you.
Thank you.
And this is for you. So these are 2 literal life savers. And so I'll start with Miss Gleaves and the way that she saved lives. She teaches our students life skills on a daily basis. She's a health science teacher at Topsail High School, and she's an extraordinary teacher. But she gets to impart her knowledge of being a nurse. She's been a nurse since 1983. All right, and so y'all don't start calculating. 1983. And so, well, she's an extraordinary teacher, and she does great at what she does. And the way that she saves lives is she helps children figure out what they want to do. She imparts in them some passion about the healthcare field. And so I'm going to attempt to tell a story about how she has influenced another lifesaver and how she's impacted one of her students. So Grace, now you back me up now. You got me?
I got you.
All right. So Grace was on a church retreat. And she was on a church retreat. They made a stop while they were on this retreat. On the way back?
On the way back.
On the way back, they made a stop to take some photos. When they got out, a few of the people were bitten by fire ants. All right? And the driver, the person that was driving them, was allergic. And she started, being short. She had shortness of breath, going into shock, anaphylactic shock. And Grace used her instincts and some of the skills that she learned in her health science class to take the EpiPen and do what she does with the EpiPen. So I would have been so grateful for you because I do not know what to do with that EpiPen. So she hit her with the EpiPen, and she basically saved her life. And so this just goes to show that the skills that our students are learning in their CTE courses, they're real life skills, and our students are able to use them even before they graduate. And that's the whole point of our CTE program. So congratulations to you. You both are lifesavers, and just thank you for what you did, and thank you for what you do every day.
Awesome. Picture of the board. Don't be looking right.
I need to be up here, I'm short.
Thank you for what you do. Congratulations.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. All good? Thank you. Thank you so much.
Good job to all of you.
Now, this is the annual tradition of the holiday cards. So we have 2 students whose artwork will be represented on the cards that Pender County Schools sends out this holiday season. So if we can have Allison Cruz Antonio and Emerson Freeman come up as well as with their art teachers. Where's those people at the top? How are you? Yeah, talk about your
We'll talk with them. Emerson is a 6th grader at Surf City Middle School, and she's very, very talented. She did a beautiful, I don't have it projected this year, I'll just send it to you. She did a beautiful night drawing, oh, perfect, thank you. Night drawing of a snowman with oil pastels. And I had Emerson kind of write off what her idea was behind it, and she said, her idea was when you look outside in the winter and it's pitch black and dead silent. It's peaceful, it's calming, it's an extremely nice feeling. I love that about winter and the thought that things can be fresh. And Emerson's parents are here tonight, and those hands for us, Callie and Heath. And her little brother, Everett, he goes to Surf City Elementary, so he's right next door to Big Sister. And she said her favorite artist is Vincent Van Gogh. She loves working with acrylics and colored pencils, even though this is with oil pastels. And that she's on the swim team for Hampstead Hammerheads. So she's very talented, and she'll have several works on display tomorrow night at the Surf City Middle School Band Concert at Topsail High School. So come check it out.
And this is Allison Cruz Antonio. She's a second grader at Rocky Point Elementary School. And she's here with her mom, Carmen, and her brother, Edwin. And so we're so glad to have them. And this was hers. You know, I'm the STEAM teacher at my school, so art is not, my main focus, but we focus on a lot of different things. But I was very proud. I just said, this is what we need to do. And I let them be as creative as they wanted to be. And this is what she came up with, which I love because it's got a happy little snowman and a snow globe. And it just turned out great. I was really proud of her. She used colored pencils, and she did a really great job outlining everything. So she was very proud of herself, and she still is, as you can see. And she should be proud.
Can I get the kids holding their envelope there? Thank you. We have board members in with you. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
Does that conclude the recognitions for tonight? It's my understanding there's no one that has signed up for public comment.
Correct.
I didn't get an opportunity to do this. We did have an elected official with us, one of our county commissioners. He had to step out though. Mr. Jimmy Tate was here, and so I did want to recognize that he came tonight to see the board sworn in. So I did want to thank him for coming out, representing the county commissioners tonight. Okay, you've had opportunity to look at the consent agenda. Is there any questions, comments, anything that needs to be addressed? Not hearing any, can we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion we approve the consent agenda.
Okay, we have a motion. Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not hearing any, the motion carries. This time is our action committee, 11.1. It has been taken off for right now, so we're going to 11.2, HVAC replacement.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, ladies and gentlemen of the board. This evening we have a request. I have 2 action agenda items this evening. The first would be the labor only for the installation of a 15-ton HVAC unit at Pender High School. We did not have the summary presentation by Mr. Lynch tonight from the Cheatham assessment. However, this is one of the issues at this specific school that is on the assessment that needs to be replacement due to life. There are a lot of HVAC issues scattered throughout the district. Obviously, that we're going to prioritize using the Cheatham assessment, as well as trying to find the resources for the maintenance that needs to take place regarding the indoor air quality assessment. So one of the large HVAC units at Pender High has reached life expectancy and has begun to fail beyond repair. Several units on this campus were identified for the replacement with recent Cheatham assessment. This equipment was purchased previously, and this request is for the installation only. The request is recommend board approval for $43,000 from the ESSERS Fund 3-6580-171-326-000.
Are there any questions about this before we have a motion?
So is it running right now?
Yes, sir.
How old is this unit, sir?
About 20 years old. Part of the problems with units that are this old is we're running R22 Freon, which is no longer in manufacturing. It costs approximately 4 times as much to surface these machines with that Freon as the current modern 420, which we found out the other day is going to cease manufacturing in 2025, which is around the corner.
What's the, you may not know this, sir, but what's the SEER number on this 15-ton?
I do not know the SEER rating on the 15 tons, sir.
Is there any way we can find that out, see how efficient it's gonna be?
Sure. I'll be glad to look
So
into
this is the
that.
unit we already own, right? This is just for labor?
Yes, sir.
We already own the unit. So we haven't bought it. It's ours. We already own it, so we're just paying, this is to have it installed.
And the ESSER funds just is funds that do not come out directly from our money pit or money pot, so.
Yes, sir.
Money pit. Is there any other questions or anything else before we entertain a motion? Okay, we'll turn it over to the board then. Is there anyone like to make a motion for this?
I'll make a motion to approve the, and I can't get my computer to work yet, but whatever the price total was,
$43,000 exactly.
that much.
Okay, we have a motion. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Have a motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Are you up here again?
The second agenda item is the purchase of wall-mounted HVAC units. You heard mention on your indoor air quality conversation about the barred units. That's specifically a manufacturer of the wall-mounted HVAC units. And as a matter of fact, they are the only sole provider for the specs that we drew up regarding trying to decrease the CO2 levels that are in the environments, as well as improving the indoor air quality overall. So based on the HVAC assessment conducted by the Cheatham Associates, there are multiple wall-mounted HVAC units throughout the district that are at end of life or are no longer repairable due to legislation regulating the Freon product used to maintain those units. Based on the specs of the equipment, there is only one provider. Single source letter has been attached. A request, recommendation of approval for $292,452.30 from the 3-6580-171-46100 ESSER Fund.
Is there any questions?
So are we replacing as needed, or is this a swap out now?
These are 30 unit. We're trying to purchase the equipment because of the time limit on the ESSERS funding. In addition, we're having to wait so long to obtain these materials. So there are probably more than 30 across the district that need to be replaced, but we know that we can target 30 specific units scattered throughout the district. And once we have the materials on hand, we'll then subcontract out the installation process.
That material could take who knows when to get, right?
Right now, 6 to 8 months, yes, sir. We're hoping that we can get some of this quicker because this barred manufacturer in particular is the sole provider in this. But additionally, part of the problems are we're starting to steal equipment off of other pieces of equipment because condensers, for example, are not rated for 410. They're only rated for 420 or R22, and we're just stealing parts and putting them on others to try to keep the things running.
What kind of units are these?
They're wall-mounted units, individual classroom usually, 2.5 to 3 tons, depending on the class size space.
Okay. You got a name brand of the manufacturer?
Bard is the sole provider, manufacturer of the wall-mounted units that we're looking at. Because again, we're trying to improve the indoor air quality. That's part of the ESSER's criteria.
Understand.
I just had a general question about ESSER's funds. If we go ahead and approve this and obligate those ESSER's funds, it's pretty much, I mean, we can keep it if we are experiencing, a supply, right, and if we're experiencing a delay in getting the materials here, we can still use those ESSER's funds because they were approved, right?
Good question.
That's correct. So, and the feds have also given us the extension as long as we have the stuff encumbered. But we also have a backup plan as budgeting to take care of any things that we just swap out expenses.
Excellent, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I got one more question.
Yes, sir.
Sir, what's the alternate plan if you can't come up with 6 to 8 wall-mounted units in 6 to 8 months?
Well, some of them are still working, as Mr. Hall pointed out, so they're end of life.
Right.
They're just costing so much money to maintain. It costs $1,500 for a drum of R22. It costs $400, $465 for the 410. So we're putting a ton of money into these machines that are constantly failing, needing repair parts and things of that nature. So, I'm not sure I understand the question though.
So I'm saying
We're going to get this material. It just takes us a little longer to get it. We're maintaining these systems as we can, but they're beginning to fail at a rate that it's very difficult to keep up with the failure rate.
okay.
These units are on the hallways at Thompson Middle School. They're on
Yes,
some of
sir.
the EC classes at Thompson Middle School. They're on just about all of our mobile classrooms.
Yes, sir. They're on all the mobile
I'm
classrooms.
sure they're on Pender High. Does Pender High have the same setup?
The CTE wing has some, and then you also have Topsail-Annandale has quite a
Topsail-
few.
old-
Other
Topsail-Annandale has-
elementary schools, they're very prevalent in older schools too, where the central HVAC unit wasn't necessarily installed. We didn't have the modern 4-pipe systems and things of that nature.
I guess what I'm trying to say is, sir, the 6 to 8 months, I don't wanna get 6 to 8 months into it and then we turn around and say, well, it's been put on back order. That's why I'm asking if you have an alternate plan, instead of spending $1,500 a month rather than $400, do we have another manufacturer that we can go with inside those 6 to 8 months?
This is the sole provider, sir. This company is the only manufacturer, but this equipment is so expensive that they don't, in just general terms, you can't go shopping for these types of things. You might can go shopping for a 3.5 ton unit for your home or something like that, but these units, obviously there's a pretty big chunk here, but the reality is some of this machinery is $50,000, $60,000. Manufacturers aren't willing to invest that kind of money knowing that something might sit in a storeroom plus they don't have a place to store the stuff. It's so large.
I don't have anything further.
Okay, is there anyone else? What's the will of the board? Does anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve it.
Okay. Have a motion. Do we need to have a second?
I'll second.
Have a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
11.4, class size waivers.
Good evening, Chair and board members. You have in front of you a packet based on General Statute 115C-301. We're required to meet the class size waivers that are listed. For instance, kindergarten is an average of 18, no more than 21. We currently have 9 classrooms that meet this criteria for a waiver. They are listed in the packet behind you or behind the actual summary. Along with that is the fact that they've been certified and signed by Dr. Bracy as interim superintendent. And there's an affidavit that is also on there that Dr. Bracy has to sign to say that the things are accurate. We're recommending approval by the Board of Ed so that we can submit these to Raleigh. Luckily, there are no fiscal implications on this one.
Is there any questions, comments? Would anyone like to make a motion then to approve this?
So I have a question. So there's a limit to how many times we can get waivers, right? Is there? So with the current situation we've got with overcrowding and lack of a bond that's moving forward now that we're going to discuss in a few minutes, what happens after the waiver? What happens when we run out of waivers?
You buy more huts, essentially.
At $1 million a pop.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be funny or coy.
Right, I know the answer, but I was wanting everybody to know the answer.
Right. Yeah, buy more huts or you build more schools quicker. That's the only other option you have.
And we have to have teacher allotments for that, right?
Yeah.
So those allotments come from where?
They come from Raleigh.
But if we don't have teacher allotments, where do those lower grade levels are gonna do what to higher grade levels?
We go to Lisa and beg for it, which normally comes out of local.
We increase from grades 4 up.
Right.
Grades 4 through high school get
Yeah.
slammed with
Right.
more kids in their class.
Right.
Okay, that's all I had.
And that was why it was so important when Mr. George was chair, how much he advocated for the bond getting it passed. And just like my comments with the Port City Daily, I mean, I think everyone's impacted by this. Everyone knows someone. So it's really sad, and hopefully through his leadership and our previous superintendent, that we can go ahead and get this done. So I publicly thank Mr. George as previous chair, how hard he worked on that. So hopefully we won't have to continue to do this.
And it does have a substantial impact on the upper grades, you're right.
Oh, yeah.
So I make a motion, we approve the class waivers.
Motion, have a second?
Second.
Have a second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Yeah, Dr. Lancaster's not available tonight, so I'll stay up here with Mr. Macon. I need to be, but he has all the details.
Okay.
Yeah,
Clear
so,
Touch?
yeah, this is for the, essentially, we're bringing a request to purchase 18 Clear Touches for Malpas Corner Elementary using Title I funds. Those of you who have been in our schools have likely seen these devices. These are the TVs that are on the carts. When Dr. Hill was doing his bond presentations, that's the device we're talking about. Frankly speaking, TVs are the future of classroom projection, or classroom displays, I should say, replacing these projectors. This is essentially rolling in that direction. Do you have
So
any
this
questions
was
about those?
Title I funds.
That is correct, yeah.
How much are they a piece?
So the individual TVs on this order, I believe, are 2,600. Let's see it right in front of you. You have the quote in front of you? Yeah, 2,675 for the television. That said, there's also a $500 stand that's attached there. We put around approximately $300 Chrome box, which is essentially a small computer, much like students carry a Chromebook. It's that in a desktop form that we attach to the side of it. And the other item is that same wireless keyboard y'all see right there.
What is the normal lifespan of these?
Well, think about the TV you got in your house. How long has it lasted? LCD panels last a very long time. Hoping to at least get 10 years of use out of a panel. I would be very surprised if we have panels dropping before 10 years. LCD technology has a lot of resiliency, especially when compared to those things. That said, there's obviously, these are much more expensive. The projectors you see, not that guy, but the standard one in a classroom, are around about $600. So as you can see, this is a very stark price increase for filling that role as the classroom display. It offers a lot of advantages, obviously, over the projector. Much more clear picture, very legible from further back in the classroom. It's all in all just a better device all around it, but they are obviously not cheap.
And this is paid for with Title I money, right?
That is correct, sir.
And can you tell us where that comes from so the public will know?
That's federal funding, federal Title I funding.
So if it was not used for this, what else kind of would it be used for? Anything else that,
Generally, it's used for personnel and for equipment, and it's supplementing what we have in the classroom, whether it be a teacher or a piece of equipment.
okay.
Is there anything Title I needs more than these that are more critical?
This request came from the school administration itself. And so this was something I essentially put together by their request. So they evaluated the use of their own funds. So this is what they felt they needed.
Are there any other questions?
The other schools have this, do you know, right off?
So we, as a technology department, have purchased one per school. That's kind of a resource that can be checked out. As I said, this is the future of classroom displays. That said, I've obviously spoken to the price difference. So it's not something that we have a budget for right now. When we can, it's something we try to put into the buildings, but rolling out across the entire district is not something that we can do at this time. So frankly, baby steps in
I make a
regards to
motion
bringing
we
these.
approve it.
I got a small question, Mr. Chair.
Oh, sorry about that.
Which schools are these 18 gonna go into?
This is Malpas Corner Elementary.
All of them, all 18?
Yes.
Okay. I don't have anything for
Okay, we have a motion on the floor from Mr. Hall.
I'll second.
Have a second. Mr. Springer, any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you for your hard work on that.
Thanks for your time.
Is there anything else on the agenda before?
I'd ask for a time for discussion to be put on the agenda to discuss a few things concerning the bond. So since we met last, the bond successfully passed by 54% of the community that voted for it. But the bond has hit a snag where there is impression across the street over there that the majority of the Board of Education is now no longer in favor of the bond. That some went around, I guess, during the campaign season and thought that they weren't completely in favor of the bond. So I just wanted to go through what the whole discussion was, the timeline, and this may take a while because I plan on reading things that we talked about. And so we can get out to everybody of what actually transpired. As of right now, we don't have a confirmed, committed piece of property for the school. We thought we did. They have a piece they bought, it's been advertised in the Post-Voice, but now that has been kind of put on hold, and they've requested a meeting with the Board of Education in January. What that does to the timeline, if you remember the timeline, the design phase was supposed to start immediately after the bond passed in November, so that the bond could go out for bid in April. So now we'll be in January, and the design phase has not started yet. And it will not start until we have a confirmed piece of property that the architects can use to design a school to put on. So we have hit quite a big snag, and there's a lot of questions in the community about what does the school look like, where it's going to be. And for the ones that went to those meetings that heard those questions, those same people are now coming wanting to see, because they were told in those meetings what at that time was our best knowledge, that process would start immediately. We don't have a schedule of when the county's going to sell bonds. There's a whole lot of things going on. So as of right now, the schedule calls for the K-8 school to open August of 2025. The architect says now that is August of 2026. So that is going to put a whole year worth of growth back into the school. So I want to go through this so we can all understand what happened. And I tightened it up because I get tongue-tied and ramble sometimes, so I'm trying to keep this as straight to the script as I can. So last December, shortly after I became chair, in that meeting to be exact, we talked about the bond and how that was going to be a priority in 2022. Immediately after that, Dr. Hill and his staff started working on identifying the needs of the district. Dr. Hill and his staff also started looking for outside consultants to help with the process of estimating and design options. In an email from Dr. Hill to the board dated January 27th, Dr. Hill introduces the firm FWA Group as helping with the consulting part of the project. Mr. Gary Hubler will be the primary contact, and he would perform work for the district. He had performed work for the district in the past on other bonds and projects, so he knew the district. Also in that email dated January 27th was an attachment from Mr. Hubler listing identified projects that Dr. Hill and Mr. LaFawn had discussed with him on January 19th. And I've got copies of that if you want to see it. There's several, as a matter of fact, I'll just read them. Pender Lee K-8 Classroom Addition, Pender High School Auditorium and Auxiliary Gym, Rocky Point Elementary School renovations and 116-seat addition, Burgall Middle School cafeteria and school remodel, C.F. Pope renovation of hallway and front lobby, install 3 turf fields, central services building and maintenance, and an 8-bay maintenance building. That was in that along with a high school. Closing that email from Dr. Hill on the 19th, Dr. Hill in bold letters says, please share any input to help the process and the projects. This is a first solid shot at getting a high percentage of the projects nailed down and a closed figure identified. We believe that there may be add-ons such as playgrounds and other exterior items, but they are more vendor pricing items, which means that after the bond, if those things, we would have to find money from somewhere else. That was sent by Dr. Hill on January 19th. During the CAL, which this is why I was asking Bob earlier, if our CALs are recorded, because this would be coming into play here. During the CAL on February 8th, Dr. Hill and Mr. LaFawn presented to the board the information they had received from Mr. Hubler and discussed the potential of needs-based grant that Mr. Hubler was going to help with submittal. So that was we were asking the state for some of that $1 billion. He was going to help us submit that application. During that meeting, we reviewed the list of projects listed on the January 27th email. We asked Dr. Hill and Mr. LaFawn to proceed with getting project cost details and estimate schedules. We went through that list and we narrowed it down. From $272 million, we narrowed that down. So that's where the original scope of projects was at. On February 11th, Dr. Hill sent an email to all board members listing the projects, cost, and schedule. In that email, he discussed the possibility of having to triage the list, which we did, due to other projects in the county government may be doing, such as they were talking about that time of jail, DSS and social services building, and I think we're still talking about that. On February 17th, I received an email from Dr. Hill. Attached to the email was a proposed estimated schedule and project costs for list of the projects. We had asked Dr. Hill and Mr. LaFawn review during the February 8th CAL. Also in that email, Dr. Hill asked me to send to the board in bold letters, please work with the Board of Education to organize bond items in a list priority and let us know. On February 18th at 8:10 a.m., I sent an email to all board members. I attached a list of those projects. I asked for replies back. On February 20th at 6:59 a.m., Ms. Fontana was the first one to respond back. She listed her projects as Burgall Middle, Pender High School, Central Office Maintenance, Rocky Point, Pender Lee, Turf, and C.F. Pope. And then on Monday, February 25th at 5:59, I sent an email reminder out to all board members asking for the list and a day and a time for a virtual meeting. On February 21st at 7:17, I received a reply from Ms. Burns. She stated she had been out of town and would send me her list ASAP. On February 21st at 9:35, she sent me that list. And she says hers was Rocky Point, renovation, 116 seats, Burgall Middle, cafeteria, school remodel, central services building maintenance, 8-bay maintenance building, C.F. Pope renovation of hallway and front lobby, Pender Lee K-8 addition, Pender High School addition and auxiliary gym, and install 3 turf fields. I never received a reply from Mr. Smith or Mr. Hall. A virtual meeting was scheduled for Friday, February 25th at 9 a.m. My rankings that I sent out was Pender Lee Edition, Rocky Point Reno and Add Seats, Burgall Middle, 8 Bay Maintenance, Central Service Building, C.F. Pope Hallway, Turf Fields, and Pender High School Auxiliary Gym and Auditorium. This meeting that we had on the 25th was live streamed, so it's archived, it's on, you can go to YouTube and watch it and hear all the comments that were made and who said what, when, and how. After discussion at that meeting, Mr. McPherson asked Mr. Smith for his list. His list was Pender Lee, Rocky Point, Burgall Middle, C.F. Pope, Central Services, Turf Fields, and Pender High School. And Mr. McPherson then asked Mr. Hall his list of Rocky Point, Pender Lee, Burgall, Central Services, Turf Field, Pender High School, C.F. Pope. At first, Mr. Hall or Mr. Smith, neither one, according to the minutes, and according to the recording, they were good with whatever. So that's where that was at on the 25th. There was discussion by board members present, Mr. Smith, Mr. Hall, Ms. Burns, Ms. Fontana wasn't there, and they all agreed to a priority list. A motion was made by Mr. Hall to approve the list and second by Ms. Burns. Roll call vote, and Mr. Smith voting yes, Mr. Hall voting yes, Ms. Burns voting yes, and our board, the chair doesn't vote unless there's a tie. But my vote would have been yes if I'd have voted. And I'm sorry I have to listen to this. If y'all want to leave, you can. But this needs to get out to certain people. In an email dated March 3rd, Dr. Hill submitted an updated schedule and cost projection with a list as agreed upon by the board on February 25th meeting. On March 22nd, Dr. Hill and staff, along with Ms. Burns and myself, attended the Board of County Commissioners retreat. A presentation of the bond materials up to that point was shared with the commissioners. We had another CAL containing the bond request on April 12th. And then at the May 10th meeting, which I was not in attendance, Ms. Burns was leading the meeting, there was the bond resolution with these projects in it, asking the county commissioners to please put this on the ballot. The motion was made by Mr. Smith, second by Ms. Fontana, and voted yes by Mr. Hall, Mr. Smith, and Ms. Fontana, and Ms. Burns. So that's the sequence of events up to that point. So where the I don't support the bond came from, I don't know. But it is kind of jeopardized our schedule to an extreme extent that it's going to wind up costing the taxpayers more money. But which brings interesting another thing. So Mr. Springer, he's a new board member, and his question from the Star News, what are the key issues you want to focus on if elected to the school board? And Mr. Springer's response was, we have multiple issues facing our schools. Maintaining a safe, secure environment for our children and staff is the top of my list. And I agree with that, that's 100%. There's also a rather serious overcrowding problem at many of our schools. I will not go into detail regarding solutions to correcting these issues, but if elected, I have many ideas to help solve these problems without promoting the bond. So we're at that point tonight, we need the things that you got, because we're in a bind.
Mr. George, I'm glad you asked, because let's start back at the voting of the bond. It didn't pass by much. And I would take that into serious consideration when you're asking for the taxpayers $178 million.
It passed by 56%.
Yeah, what was the nay vote?
48%.
That's not very much, but that's neither here nor there. Talking about the needs of the district, first off, going back into what you said, I went and talked to the administration at Burgall Middle, and they don't want a cafeteria, for one. Second thing I would say is when I went to visit another school on the west side, they got a whole wing of the school that's not even getting utilized. The presentation that was put out by Dr. Hill doesn't mention the open wing of the school.
If I can just respond to that real quick. Sure. You went to some of the presentations. The only one I missed, all of them, out of 15 or 16 of them, was Burgall Middle, and that must have been the one you were at, or Burgall. That question was asked several times. What can we do? And every time it was asked, and I was there, I told them, we have open seats, we can redistrict. It will be very painful. It will move everybody from Surf City to Malpas Corner in some capacity. Every school will be affected by it. So yes, you're right, there is open seats.
I said that on the campaign trail as well. And for anyone to come out and say I was against the bond is a misconception.
I never called names.
No, I didn't say you did. I'm just saying, for the record, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, I've told people on the board I wasn't against the bond. I was against how big the school was gonna be when it was built. And now we're a year out. That's gonna even put your impact even higher. Surf City Elementary and Middle School was built 5 years ago and it's at capacity.
Surf City Middle and Elementary School was built for overcapacity growth. Mr. Allen, he was the original principal there. When they opened that school, they had extra classrooms, and that was built by design so they could have room to grow. They grew a lot faster than anybody anticipated, the same way with every other school. The K-8 school is a 1,200 student school. The most comparable school to that are Charlotte Mecklenburg. That's a huge school for this area, for that K-8 school. So regardless now, if we get land, we're currently going to be at least a year behind. The board is going to have to consider what to do, and that is going to it's going to upset a whole lot of people because there's going to be a whole lot of lives and livelihoods that's going to have to change when there's a shuffle of the whole county to accommodate for these kids. We can't keep packing them in over there.
It's going to happen one way or the other. Whether you build a new school or you don't, you still got to redistrict. Right?
You will have to redistrict into that school. Yes, you're correct.
Okay.
But you're not going to have to take kids from South Topsail right now. When we looked at it, because it's been looked at, Transportations gave us numbers of who lives where. There's 1,200 kids that live south of 210 and 17 from K-8, from K-12. So some of those 1,200 kids are going to have to go to Rocky Point or Cape Fear, which is going to add an hour and a half to a 2-hour bus ride. Some of the kids from from Topsail Elementary is going to have to go to South Topsail. It's just going to move. So when you fill up, Rocky Point's already full. That's why that was on the bond. Those kids are going to have to go to Cape Fear Elementary. So when you fill that up, they've got to go to Burgaw Elementary. Every school will be affected by this. But now that we're a year behind, going to be a year behind schedule, something's got to happen. We cannot continue. You can't do it. We don't have room for huts anymore. We're putting covering our last little bit of property we got at Surf City with a hut, a quad. There is no room at Topsail Elementary School for a hut. There's limited room at North Topsail to put a convenient hut that you wouldn't have to have kids walking across the campus. And you talk about school safety, that's putting kids in huts is not a safe option. They're detached from the building where they're safe at. But that's the options that we're faced with. And it's unfortunate. Hopefully we can get the ball rolling and get something moving so we don't move farther and farther behind. You can't do a mid-year opening of a K-8 school. We did it with Topsail High School, but I didn't do it. My son was part of it because he was going to Topsail High School at that time. The previous board did it. But it was a high school and it was easy. It did it during Christmas break. I don't see how because this school involves redistricting. You can't do it mid-year.
Well, talking about, let's get going.
No, I'm
talking about safety and school security. It's not safe for the kids in Burgaw Middle to be walking around with a breaker box in the hallway. 600 volts. That's open panel, right? But I understand what you're saying, and you're correct. There's not resource officers that meander out there. I guess I'm not sure. I don't know their schedule or itineraries, but when the kids only spend, when I went and talked to the administration there in Burgaw Middle, when they only spend 30 minutes a day in the cafeteria, they would rather have restored classrooms. And when the presentation was put out by Dr. Hill, he never mentioned the debt the county's already in. That's the only thing when I put out on my Facebook page, what I was trying to portray, the whole story, not just half the story. And building a school that was only 1,200, what does Mr. Hoopler say as far as his study goes in the next 10 years as student capacity?
That was a different firm, and I can't remember their name, but there was a study done, a needs study. And yes, that's county-wide numbers that he gave in the next 10 years, how it's gonna grow.
Okay.
There will need to be another bond. And I openly told people that to any, I don't know who all was at the meetings I went to or attended, but there needs to be another bond in 2 years. This needs to be Wake County for a while. We have one every 2 years till you get caught up. I mean, the Board of Education had nothing to do with development. We don't approve housing projects.
Right.
And all our job is to make sure that we request that the kids have a place to go to school. It's not our place to provide that place.
And see, that's the part of, why does it matter what anyone here thinks when the voters have approved it? I don't see why the county commissioners want to use that for an excuse. I mean,
It's not a matter of them not doing it. They have to do it. I mean, it's been voted on by law. Do they have to do it immediately? The last bond, we were in the same situation. It was 18 months before we got the first draw.
I'm a little confused when you say county commissioners have made comments about the majority of the board, making statements. It sounds like then there's other meetings that are taking place then with county commissioners that have not been.
There was not meetings. Me and Ms. Fontana, when she was chair, we started the whole land thing. It was the chair and the vice chair. I was the vice chair, she was the chair. We met with the county manager, Dr. Hill, the county manager, which was Chad at that time, assistant county manager Doug Shipley, and George Brown and Fred, so they were chair and vice chair. Those meetings were the only meetings that's happened.
So all of what you're saying is just basically been
conversation,
basically rumored, he said, she said
right,
kind of thing.
asking what's the status. So when I called and approached a couple of a current and a former county commissioner, what the problem was, for both two different separate times, that was the answer I got.
Well, then it sounds like to me then that's a county commissioner issue.
I mean, the voters have spoken, so they need to do their job and.
Well, I just wanted to make sure.
Because on November the 11th, I just wanted to also put this on the record because I feel like that when you say there's majority of, or on there, on November the 11th, there is an article. I never went out publicly. I had a campaign sign for the bond at my business. Church members that I pastor, I gave them signs to support the bond, but I was not linking my campaign to a bond for or against. And on November 11th, Port City Daily interviewed me, and anyone can go and look at that interview and they'll see that I was 100% in favor. So if it's something that if anyone says that I'm against, we've got to get children in these classrooms.
And that's what
the only thing that I have publicly said is that there has to be a priority list. That's the only thing I said, because you've got to have classrooms, you've got to have students in the classrooms before we have a school bus garage built. So if we're talking about priority setting, that's my only thing.
And that's what I think that where the confusion's at, and we did that. That's why I read off what everybody's priority was. And every single board member that prioritized the bus garage and the central services was the last on the list, because everybody knows.
And I'm for that. I'm for that. It's just that we've got to get, and the commissioners that have talked to me, they've all said that they want to see kids in seats. And I told them, this is really shocking that the county commissioners, that now they've put us off a year.
Well, they haven't put us off a year. We don't have a piece of land committed to us. So that is the latest. We don't have a firm answer from them of a piece of land. There was an article in the Pender Post, it's public record, the piece of land on 210. They call it the DBL project. I even went to the county commissioners because they were giving that away to the water plant and got that put on hold till we can at least find a piece of property. And they were still in negotiations at that time for another piece of property. But as of right now, we are 3 months behind the schedule. And there's been no due diligence done on any property. So we don't, even if we took the piece of DBL property, that if they gave it to us tomorrow, it's still got to be vetted to make sure, the overlays were right for wetlands and stuff. I just wanted to get that out there. That's why I asked for that discussion to be put on the agenda, because the public needs to know. The public's asking, you told us you were going to have a place for the school. All right, we voted for it. We got out and campaigned for you. Now where is it? And it's hard to tell them now that you've approved a $178 million bond that we don't have a piece of property.
Well, so, when the bond is voted on as these different projects are listed, other than if you run out of money, there's not really anything that says the priority that things are gonna be built in, right?
There's not a priority. You have to build what's on the bond. You have to attempt to complete the projects that you presented to the public. What order you do them in, I don't think is necessary, because
we have a construction schedule that has been
right.
put out.
And our construction schedule put kids in seats, and the bus garage and that building was the last thing on that list. It was 5 years out, which will now be 7 years out.
But if you run out of money before
At
that,
the current rate of inflation, we'll be lucky if we you may not have to worry about the Bergall cafeteria.
No, that's how Pender High School, while we had to fight to get the walkway that was in the bond.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then we finally got it built, so.
That's, the same thing happened at Heidi Trask. They were about several years from getting the auxiliary gym.
All right.
Auditorium, because it ran out of money.
I'm gonna ask you a crazy question. Is there a way, and I'm new, so bear with me, is there a way we can take the people at the county office, the ones that want to go virtual and work from home, to alleviate having to build an administration office?
That would probably be for a later discussion.
That's not our role as to who decides where. That's
Okay.
Dr. Bracy at the time, and be Dr. Breedlove on January 1st.
Is there any other comments then about this particular issue? Ms. Burns, if you have anything you want to discuss, I think a lot's been said.
No, I think I'm good.
Mr. Hall, do you have anything else? Are you good?
I'm good. Thank you, sir. Thank you for the time.
No problem. All right, we've got down to the next part, comment from board members. We've already kind of did that in a little bit, but let's just make sure that we got everyone to the end. Mr. George, do you have anything else?
I do, and I'm going to go back to the bond. I want to thank Dr. Hill. Dr. Hill, he promoted this bond up to his last day, and even promoted it after his last day. He did a lot of work to get us the bond. PILA, they stepped up and became our campaign committee. We had to have a campaign committee, so it's a political action group. So they did that for us. I appreciate them doing that. They help us in more ways than most people realize. I want to thank all the people sitting here and listening to that spiel tonight. I'm sorry you had to sit through that. But have a Merry Christmas, and we'll see you back here next year.
All right, Mr. Hall, do you have any comments?
I have none, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Barnes, do you have any comments?
Yes, I do. Recently, I think this board has received a lot of emails about a little bit more violence, a little bit more bullying going on in our schools. And I just wanted to say that to all of you parents out there that have sent in emails that have made us aware, we are aware of it. We are currently, this board is trying to be as active about it as we can be. We're working with our interim superintendent, and we will be working with Dr. Breedlove. I believe, are you going to discuss this in your time? You know what? I'm just going to stop right there, and I'm going to let Dr. Bracy tell you all about that. However, I did feel that it was necessary for a board member to bring it up, just to let you guys know that we are listening. When you email us or call us or text us, we are listening. Other than that, it's our last meeting before the new year. So Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and thank you all for what you do.
Thank you, Ms. Burns. Mr. Springer, do you have any comments?
No, sir.
No? Okay. Let me just say in closing, with my comments, I want to thank the board for their confidence and vote. I have enjoyed serving the last 4 years on the board, and I'm excited about serving in this role as chair. I do understand that just being the chair doesn't mean that it's a dictatorship, because each one of this board has a role to play, and all of us might not agree on everything, but the good thing at the end of the day, we're not here for ourselves, we're here for those little kids in those classrooms. And so that's what I'm thankful for. And so anytime that you might see in the next year, if anytime we might say something that offends one another, well, that's all right. We're all grown, and when we leave here, we'll be fine. So I just encourage all of us to work together and to do what's best for these kids. And I really believe that the team that we have here will do so. I always try to do birthdays, and if I've left someone out, I apologize. But Mr. Hall got another year older this month, and so I want to say happy birthday to our vice chair. Miss Godwin, as you know, last time I told you, Santa Claus comes sees her on her birthday, and so Miss Godwin, happy birthday coming up. Mr. Brian Allen, Jake Lawrence, Fallon Fuller, Miss Winstead. I don't know how many of you are here, but we are so glad to wish you happy birthday and for all the work that you're doing. Now, the last thing, it's already been said, Merry Christmas. I do wish each of you a Merry Christmas, but I also want to wish you a Happy Hanukkah. There's a thing called in a dreidel, and in a dreidel they spin it, and it has 4 Hebrew letters on it. And in my home, when we do this, you spin it, and it's a little game the kids play. Well, ancient times when they spin it, here's what they were doing. Each letter stood for a word or a phrase, and in the Hebrew language it stood for this. Something great and a miracle happened here. I would hope that by next year this time, that by the time we can work together as a board, that we can spin our imaginary dreidel, if you would, and we can look at each other and say this: something great has happened in Pender County Schools this year. So thank you for coming tonight, and I look forward to serving with our board. This time I'm going to ask if our board attorney has any comments, and then our superintendent.
Good evening, Board. I'll keep my comments quick. I want to congratulate each of our newly sworn and our newest member of the board. I'm excited to be working with you as we close out the 2022 year and begin 2023. I look forward to another year of working with you, and definitely challenges, but also the opportunity to work together for the betterment of the children of Pender County. And with that, thank you so much. Have a very Merry Christmas, everyone, and a Happy New Year.
Thank you. This time our superintendent.
Thank you, Board Chair. A few announcements, but also wanted to start off by saying happy birthday to Mr. Hall. We had a great celebration this morning. If you did not have a chance to see social media, folks, Pender County is on the map, and it is something we have to celebrate in a big way. And today we were surprise visit from the State Superintendent Truitt. Joined us at Rocky Point Elementary School. One of our very own, Jessica Barnett, a kindergarten first grade teacher at Rocky Point, received the Milk and Educate Award. I won't take a long time to tell you what that is, but in a nutshell, it's called the Oscars of Teaching. So it's the best of the best. What a great honor it was today to be able to experience that exciting moment, especially when I had the opportunity to watch kids perform, because it was a secret celebration. So Superintendent Truitt came to be a part of the Christmas program. So great job to April Perkins and her staff for welcoming us to that great place. Kids were excited. They did well in the presentation. So she's going to represent us well as a district, not only in the state of North Carolina, but nationally. So congratulations to Rocky Point Elementary School, and specifically Ms. Barnett. I want to also welcome District 1 Board Member Brent Springer. Welcome. Congratulations, District 2 Board Member Beth Burns, and congratulations, District 4 Board Member Mr. Ken Smith. I want to thank you all for your service to staff and students of Pender County Schools. A few dates. Tomorrow, we are excited. Central Office, we're going to have a luncheon here in this room. Please come join us if you would like to. I think we have Mission Barbecue is catering, so come join us for the fun and celebration. You have on your in your packet of materials, our first exciting mid-year graduation is Pender Early College, December 19th at 3 p.m. Commencement exercises will be at Cape Fear Community College Union Station Auditorium. Thursday, December 22nd through March 1st, we will all be celebrating and have some time off. The district will be closed. Staff will return on Tuesday, January 3rd. What'd I say? January. We got a long time. Hey, y'all are so excited. I'm sorry I have to make that. I have to correct that mistake. January 2nd, 2023. Staff will return on Tuesday, January 3rd, and I'm excited, as well as the staff, that Dr. Breedlove will be joining us full-time. And I'll get to take a back seat, I think, for the month of January. But we've had a great time working together. It's exciting times for Pender County Schools, and we're going to continue to shine no matter the obstacles that we have to face. Friday, January 6, 2023, mid-year graduation for the other high schools. Topsail High School will be 9 o'clock a.m. Pila will be at 11 a.m. in the Cape Fear Middle School gym. 12:30 will be Hottie Trask graduation, and 2 p.m. will be Pender High School in the gym as well. So hopefully you get a chance to experience that opportunity for students that are mid-year graduates. And last but not least, Tuesday, January 10th, will be our next meeting, Committee of the Whole, followed by 6 o'clock regular Board of Ed meeting. I want to close by genuinely saying thank you so much to the staff. You all are great people, and you have the best interests of kids, and it means a lot. You make my job so easy because you are so dedicated to the work. I wish you nothing but the best the holiday season. I want you to take some time to rest, relax, and an opportunity to re-energize for 2023, because I see great things happening. And last but not least, I want to touch on the situation that Ms. Burns had brought up. Unfortunately, Kevin and I met and looked at our incidence data. Unfortunately, our data is up. Principals are aware. We are responding to those needs. But I have to give hats off to the administration and staff for dealing with situations that we have not seen before with behaviors. So I commend them for their hard work and diligence to do what we can to make it a great place for kids. It hasn't been easy, but we are up for the challenge. So we know incidents are up. I think one of the things we have to remember during this time that we're back face to face, we've had children, and this is not an excuse because we're going to respond to those needs for sure, but we've had children who have not been parented just because of COVID. And that is not an excuse on them. It's just reality, folks. They have had to work, and our kids have had some unattended, if you will, time. And now they're back. We're in some space now that they have structure. So we're responding to those needs the best we can. Nothing hiding from anyone. The data is up. But we take that as a challenge to really respond to what we can do and what's best for kids. So I wanted to let you know as a board, we are aware of this, and we as educators are doing our very best to respond to it. And I have no doubt that we have a plan in place to tackle these needs that we're seeing that we haven't experienced. So continue to have confidence in us that we're going to make the great things happen for kids. Again, I appreciate your support because this is my last official night in this seat. And Dr. Breedlove, I hope you're listening. because you get to sit in this seat January, but I'll be in the back scenes helping you and supporting you through this transition. So again, thank you to everyone. Have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and good night.
Okay, at this, I believe the attorney is giving Ms. Burns the closed session. Is that, oh, you have it now? Okay, sorry.
Have you got it?
Okay.
Go ahead if you want to do it.
You want to do half, you can do the other.
This thing needs to be broken up into.
Yeah.
Okay. I move that the Pender County Board of Education to enter into closed session, subject to the advice from the attorney pursuant to NC General Statute 143-318.11A1 and A6 to prevent the disclosure of confidential personnel information under GS 115C-319 and to consider matters relating to personnel matters. The board will also enter into closed session pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11A3 to consult with the board's attorney in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege, to consider confidential student matters as provided in NC General Statute 143.318.11A1 and the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act 20 U.S.C. 1232G and NC General Statute 115C-402, and to consider and give instructions to the board's attorney concerning Burns Fisher versus Pender County Board of Education, state and federal.
Okay, we have a motion. Does anyone need to hear that again?
She wants me to
Can we-
repeat it.
Yeah. If we can have a second.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we're in closed session. At this time, we have a motion to come out of closed session.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Not hearing any? Okay. This time, we'll go into our human resource report.
I'll make a motion that we approve the amended HR report and addendum.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor for that. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Have a second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Not hearing any? We'll go to the next. Next is our closed session minutes for November 2022, and they'll need to be stated that it will remain closed. Can I have a motion for that?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion, we approve the closed session meetings and have them remain confidential.
Have a motion. Can I have a second? Second?
I'll second Brad, yes.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Not hearing any. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
A motion to adjourn. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any